What is up, team? It's been a while since we've done one of these videos, just a chat, a discussion video, unscripted, no major editing, anything like that. As you know, the edited videos, they take a fair few hours over a few days to put them together, so sometimes it's just nice to kick back and have a chat about stuff, and it keeps content coming in through the channel, as opposed to going, weeks and weeks before the next edited video. So I'll try and do these a bit more and we'll see where it goes from there. So what can we talk about today? Well, one thing that's been on my mind recently, especially with how Savage has been changing in terms of the meta, the difficulty, and the whole news about not having another ultimate for quite a while. It's got me thinking. The whole meta of tanking, Final Fantasy XIV tanking, if you play to a fairly high raid level, you know that tanking is, it's about the damage, it's about the uptime, it's about, getting 90% to 99% of the fight done and damage stance, and then only using the tank stance for like pulling or intermittent phases with Unchained. It's generally optimizing your damage. But that's one side of the pie, right? On the other side of the pie, you've got the people who come from other games, or the people who have more of a traditional view on tanking. So when I played Bless fairly briefly, tanking in that game was like complete opposite of Final Fantasy. It's like you build you put aggro on the mob, you keep building aggro, you defend, you don't really hit that hard. It wasn't too polished in general. But I know in other MMOs, tanks are about pretty much stacking up the boss and putting debuffs on and having like how can I say, having like honor in how they generate hate, threat, and defense in general. And we see this quite a lot on this channel and in the community. We have people have said to me many times that you're a no life who focuses on damage, just play DPS. You're a tank, you should be focusing on tanking and making your healer's life as easy as possible. You should focus on doing threat. If you use Shirk, then you're not a good tank. All these type of things that have been on the forums, that have been on various community chats and vice versa. And I was thinking to myself, like, this concept in general of playing super defensively to the point where, you're just like a human meat shield. And, to play devil's advocate, it's not really the biggest downfall or the worst idea you could have as a tank in this meta. Like, you can pretty much, I'm fairly confident you can clear the tiers now, not ultimate obviously, you can clear the tiers now playing pretty much primarily in your tank stance. That's how accessible these raids have got, because Final Fantasy needs to appeal to a larger audience. And you can see the problems with Ultimate, right? Ultimate takes a shitload of resources and they're not creating much new stuff. Maybe they're creating the final form, which has some new armor or new glow and all this sort of stuff. But the animations, the attacks, the skills, it's all it's already there. They're just essentially kit bashing it together into a fight, and it already takes a long time to do. Making these fights, tuning it takes a lot of manpower, it takes a lot of man resources, and in general we're seeing a problem come from that. We're seeing that Yoshi P is now saying, oh, the community, blah blah. I don't think it's a community, by the way. I think the devs just don't have the manpower, the money, and the resources to do ultimates that much. So I don't believe the story about fans not thinking it's enough. That's kind of like bullshit to me. But I think they just don't have the manpower, the resources, the money to do ultimate that much. And it kind of makes sense when you look at how many people Ultimate is kind of catering for. It's the 1%, the 0.1%, the very small minority, and that's kind of showing its head in terms of the problems it's causing with the development, especially with the expansion coming up. And thus you have this issue where potentially for another year and a bit you're not going to have another Ultimate. So we'll see how that goes. But so back to my original point, I don't even know what I was saying. You can get through these fights in tank stance. Me personally, the other day I tanked a Primal, just all in tank stance. Used a bit of Unchained, spent everything on Inner Beast, and it was just stupidly like I find it okay. I find some of the content easy enough in damage stance, especially primals. But when you do it in tank stance, you're just like this unkillable beast where like you can just chill and do whatever you want, and you still clear ahead of Enrage. You do it with turn 1, turn 2, 3 and 4. You know, the only argument is if you're trying to clear in the first 1 or 2, 3 days, you might need to push tanking a bit more, tank stance and damage stance a bit more. But for the general community as a whole, I think, you know, it's realistically you can play in tank stance and be a tank stance hero and clear the fights. And unfortunately, that creates this attitude of people who are like, I clear the content anyway, why should I care about damage? And, you know, why should you care about damage? I mean, if you're playing the game for your own specific reasons and you're getting stuff done, you know, power to you. The only issue I have with it is when, you know, you have the two worlds clash. Like, I promote damage, I promote optimizing and writing all your cooldowns down and all that shit. And then often I get under fire from people who are like, you should focus on tanking instead. And, you know, when people can clear content in their tank stance, they have this kind of warped justification that what they're doing is right. You know, I'm an old school tank that, you know, I know what I'm doing. All these sort of comments I've had before. So unfortunately it does breed that type of attitude, which is, you know, not a great thing. But we all know at the end of the day that if you're playing to a higher level, it's all about the damage. But if you're playing just from a pure defensive point of view, cool, you can clear content. So I don't really know what the message of this video is. It's just more of an observation that, you know, if someone wants to tank and shield oath all day, or Defiance, and you're clearing the content, who are we to say you should be focusing on damage? Just, I guess, you guys stick to your world and we'll stick to ours, and as long as we're getting shit done, then so be it. But what do you guys think about the whole tank stance versus damage stance? Should the tank be focusing on damage, or should they just clear content? And, you know, if they can do it with the most minimum amount of damage possible, then fair enough, you know. Let me know what you guys think. But for now, I'm out.